Welcome back to another edition of Connor's Takes. Their first one, their first Connor's Takes in a month. It's been it's been a little bit, but
Excuse me.
we're back. That means because we're back because it's football season. We're back. That's why.
We're back,
And
and I'm back from
we're
Rochester.
definitely going to be doing this way more often during the season. But right now we're getting back into the swing of things. Today's show is pretty jam packed. We have s- we have a few NFL topics to run through, and then in the back half of the show, we're recapping the 11 plus days of Bills training camp and
Hmm.
getting you set up for the first preseason game of the 2024 season. And how happy are you that football is back, but it's Buffalo Bills football?
See, that's what I was actually about to say. I haven't been this excited for football to be back in years. Usually by this point, I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm happy it's back," but my focus is on the NASCAR playoffs when they start to approach. But this season, I'm just like, it's reversed. I'm like, "Cool. NASCAR playoffs are approaching. We're going to we're going to get the show on the road for some fun times, but Bills football is finally here, and I'm finally excited. Um,
Your
my
first
s
full season as a Bills fan, by the way.
I'm so friggin' ready. This team has me hyped, like, for real. This team has me hyped, and I cannot wait to see what they do. It's like ever since I got here, the vibes have gone through the roof, especially after, trading away the guy that's being ignored on the field right now in the Steelers versus Texans preseason football game. Immediately when I saw, CJ Stroud throw a nice ball to Tank Dell, and Tank Dell ran it in for the touchdown, I was like, "Okay, well, Stephon Diggs has already requested a trade, I can tell you that right now. We just won't hear about it until the end of the game."
Oh yeah. I mean, we'll talk about Stefan Diggs later in the show because Bills QB1 had some words at the second or was the final day of training camp. We'll definitely talk about what Josh Allen said and what kind of that means heading, into the season and kind of like maybe the vibes from last season, how it's different this season. We'll definitely break that down, talk a little bit about it. And let's get into our first, real topic because since it's preseason football, uh makes sense because we're seeing a new rule in the NFL. It's in their words, it's the dynamic kickoff. It's the UFL's version of a safer
Oh,
kickoff.
oh,
But what really made me intrigued about talking about this today was I seen a tweet, I forget who posted it, that if the ball doesn't land in the landing zone, it's a
mm,
penalty, and then it's a penalty, and the receiving team gets the ball at the 40-yard line. I
hmm.
hate that. I hate that.
The more I hear about this, the more I hate it. Even watching it, when I watched the first few preseason games, I hated it. It looks so dumb.
It has
It
to be
awful.
modified. Has the landing zone to me has to go. Like, I don't care about the landing zone. I don't like if you want this you if you want it to look weird because it's safer, fine. Let it look weird and unaesthetic because it's safer because you want football to be as safe as it could possibly be because these players are out there every day getting crushed. So if you want it to look weird for safety purposes, by all means have it for that, but get rid of the landing zone. Get rid of it. There's no purpose to it. Eh, No, I don't need look, as a Bills as if this is me, Bills bias, sweet. I would love the football at our 40-yard. I would love Josh Allen and the Bills to start at the 40-yard line every single time. But I don't want to see our defense have to defend 60 yards of field. I don't want to see that just because, with the uncertainty of Tyler Bass, right? Like, I don't need that extra stress
You're
watching
gonna
a
say that?
football game.
You're
but
gonna
I
say
don't
that
like it.
you're gonna say that with my Tyler Bass signed jersey behind me. You're gonna say that with your chest? Come on,
I'm
Paul.
gonna say that with my chest.
You're saying it with your chest, and meanwhile, I have the good luck charm right behind me.
I can't.
At
You
least it
know,
better be, or else I'm gonna drive down to Orchard Park another 1,100 miles, and I'm gonna start kicking myself.
it's gonna
You know
look weird tomorrow because I'm gonna be there tomorrow. I'm gonna be at the Bills' first preseason game tomorrow. I'm gonna see this in person, and I just, it just, if you got to get rid of the landing zone. I don't have the ball start at the 20, 25, or 30. Fine. If you want it to start at the 30 because it doesn't hit in a weird spot, or whatever's the weird wacky rules of it, but I want it to be tweaked to the traditional kickoff. Like back to the old traditional kickoff
please.
where 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 it's the old kickoff, but if you want it to have it look the same, but traditional kickoff rules.
Mhm. Yep.
I
Yep.
don't like the new dynamic kickoff rule. I hate no.
No, I just hate the whole thing in general. It looked weird at training camp when they were practicing for it, and I counted at least 3 or 4 times where it looked like Daquan Hardy coulda just ran past everybody and run into the end zone, like, easily. And I'm just sitting
Yeah,
there. I was sitting there on Sunday actually kinda going, "Man, if they look something similar to this in a real game, I'm gonna hate facing the Dolphins special teams because Braxton Berrios is gonna take advantage of this, like, immediately, and I'm gonna hate it because he's just
like
gonna
it's on
pull
tape already.
he's just gonna pull
The
a,
middle of the field is open every single time.
yeah, he's just gonna
Like,
pull a, Deontay Hardy and just run it back every time, and I'm gonna hate it.
yep.
Like, Berrios just knows how to field returns. That's all. I mean, that's literally all he does, except be somewhat decent in slot. That's it. So, it's kinda worrisome. At the end of the day, though, we'll just have to see exactly what happens when it comes down to how the kickoff return looks. But we kind of have an interesting NFL topic that we kind of glossed over just a little bit because we were not talking. We were talking about the kickoff rule. So, how about you give me the question, Paul? You gave me this question solely because I was thinking about it the other day, and I asked you to. So,
You did.
hit me with the question.
So the
Let's
question
infuriate
is,
some people.
yeah, yeah, you're good at that. You're good. Your wild takes are good at infuriating people, but it's okay. It's August 9th. People need to get mad,
Yeah.
and that's the whole purpose of the off season heading into the season. So the question is for you is who would you rather have in a game situation with both of these quarterbacks in the preferred system? The two quarterbacks you have to choose from is Tua and Dak Prescott. Tua, who already had the bag, and Dak Prescott, who's kind of waiting for it. I mean,
Who's
if
not
you're,
gonna get the bag?
if you're looking at it from this perspective, Jerry Jones isn't moving on any contract. If you've seen the CD Lamb news today, so Dak or Tua in their preferred system in a game situation.
Oh, man. You got 2 renowned chokers when it comes to clutch situations. Ain't it grand? But, I'm gonna get shot for this. Jenna will probably come all the way down to my house, hang me by my feet upside down, and
Oh my.
flog me for saying this, but I'm gonna say it with my chest anyway. I'd rather have Tua than Dak any day of the week, and I'm gonna tell you
Okay.
why. At the end of the day, they're both the same tier of quarterback, but if you put them in the same system that they're accustomed to, Tua with Mike McDaniel's offensive scheme and Dak Prescott in whatever on God's green earth Dallas has been doing the last few years, all Dallas really has to hit you with is CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, and yes. Meanwhile, you got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Depending on the rotation, you could have Braxton Berrios in the slot. You could have River Craycraft even in the slot and have Berrios on the outside. you would have obviously Durham Smythe and or Julian Hill blocking for whoever is in the backfield, because whoever's in the backfield, if it's Raheem Mostert, you have another receiving option. If it's a Chan, then you really look at it like, oh, they're about to run the football because a Chan's just that freaky when it comes to running the football. So the Dolphin system can hit you a lot of different ways. And if Tua gets the ball out like that, it's over. He hits his first read, their first read is gone. I would trust that a whole lot more if you had valiant pass protection, which let's be honest, the Dolphins do not. The Cowboys at least have some kind of something on their offensive line. The Dolphins just have the battered remains of Teron Armstead. That's it.
Mhm.
They don't have Connor Williams anymore. They don't have Robert Hunt anymore. And yeah, but at the end of the day, if you're talking quarterback to quarterback, I'm taking Tua each time. As long as you keep them in their same systems, I'm taking Tua each time. And
Mhm.
I mean it, because Tua will hit Tyreek Hill in stride. Kevin Harlan will start yelling, he's got him. And that's it. Dolphins would win a close game. And I swear, if it's against the Bills, I'm jumping right into the river. I might the alligators will greet me very fondly if I jump into the river for that. But I'm still saying it and I'm still sticking to my guns. Straight up. I'm taking Tua over Dak because I genuinely think Tua's going to be a better quarterback than Dak.
You
Give
know,
give Tua some valiant O linemen about on the level of the Cowboys O line, and I guarantee you Tua will perform better than Dak during the course of the season. Even though, let's be completely honest, I feel like he was already doing that at many points.
not going to disagree with you that Tua in his preferred system excels in it. Like, he excels in the current system that he is, but let's also be honest, it's kind of an easy system for Tua. Like, you throw him like, you flip-flop Tua and Dak. Like, say Dak had Tua's system with the receivers that Tua has, and Tua went into Dak's system with the offensive line and, CeeDee Lamb and some others. I think Dak Prescott, from the season that he had last year, almost 5,000 yards last season. He was 4,500, had 4,500 yards last year. You probably say Dak Prescott adds another 500 and he's a 5,000-yard passer with Hill and Tua as his wide Hill and Tua. Hill and Waddle
Oh, Tua
at
switch
for his
positions now. So, like we just saw in the preseason game with the Falcons and the Dolphins, we're gonna have Skylar Thompson try to hit Tua in stride, throw a duck, and it gets intercepted immediately because Tua ran the wrong route and he loses the division. But
like I get it from that standpoint that Tua, in his preferred system really does excel. I think Dak Prescott, doesn't get, as a Cowboys hater coming from myself is, Dak Prescott doesn't get the credit he deserves sometimes. Like, he was a 4,500-yard passer last season, and we're still talking about, you know, is Dak Prescott the right quarterback for, for the Dallas Cowboys? I mean, Tua last season had about 100 more yards last season than Dak did, so which is crazy.
wait,
But he had Hill and Waddle as his two wide receivers.
wait,
So,
hold on. I was just trying to think of something I heard earlier today. It was obviously a joke, but somebody said they were going to not pay Dak Prescott, but they were going to pay Micah Parsons. CD Lamb was going to leave and go to the Bills. The Cowboys, without a quarterback, are going to tank and draft Shadur Sanders with their first round pick just because of who he is. That's exactly what's going to happen. You heard it here first. CD Lamb will be a Buffalo Bill at some point because he would want to play with Keon Coleman, his cousin. I'm speaking it into existence right now.
I'm all for that. I'm all for CD coming to Buffalo playing with his cousins. Just think of the
He
unlimited
just
things you can do
mhm,
in this offense if you add a guy like CD Lamb.
yep.
But I'm still under the impression of, does Tua benefit from his receivers, or does he make or I feel like Tua is benefiting from his receivers than him actually improving them or improving the offense, because
That's
it's such
that
an easy offense to run
well, duh.
when you have Hill and Waddle. So
That's
it's
how it was
nothing really
designed to look.
complex.
Mhm.
All it is just find your first read and connect on it. And if you don't find your first read, the play is practically over because Tua is a one read quarterback, while Dak is a multi read quarterback in a more complex offensive system. So
Mhm.
personally, me, I would probably take Dak,
A little too
but
complex if you ask me, but who knows? Oh my god, that scared me. Anyway, all I'm saying is that in the same offensive schemes, like if you gave Tua Dak's style of offense, yeah, no, I don't see how Tua keeps the production up. I mean, you
no,
saw how he looked with under Brian Flores in the duo offensive coordinator system. Oh god,
yeah,
that was bad. He got saved by Jalen Waddle quite a bit, and even when that was 21, okay, that was the last year of the dual offensive coordinator setup under Brian Flores, and yeah, let's just say that Jalen Waddle was the wide receiver one over Devontae Parker about midway through that stretch when they won 7 straight games. And the minute they got to the Titans, who were the number one seed in the AFC that year, the Titans knew exactly how to defend the Dolphins' offense, which was just contain Jalen Waddle.
yep.
There they went, right down the drain and right out of the playoffs. So that's all I'm saying. They had to adjust, and they adjusted when they brought in Mike McDaniel. Oh, speak of a Dolphins quarterback, Skylar Thompson just threw a touchdown pass to Jeff Wilson Jr.
Man,
Skylar Thompson went from throwing a very horrendous pick to throwing a very nice touchdown.
good bounce back for him.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Skylar Thompson's a interesting backup quarterback, very interesting backup quarterback if you ask me. I mean, he's a suitable backup, but I don't think he's a suitable backup. He's gonna win you a game, but he's also gonna lose you a game at the same time.
Mhm.
He's just a backup. That's what backups do.
Oh my god. I do need to mention this before we move on to the next topic because this next
Mhm.
topic is gonna be pretty fire as well. 6 plays in this was for 37 minutes ago. This probably changed since. 6 plays in for Houston and Diggs has 0 targets, but Tank Dell has a 36-yard touchdown. It probably has changed since then, but at the same time, that early on and Diggs wasn't getting the ball, I'm just like, "Ah, ha, ha." He's gonna request a trade at some point because he's not the number 1 guy.
Yeah, Diggs doesn't even it's for currently 14-0 Houston, second quarter, 3:52 left. Diggs is not even on the box score. He doesn't
Ha
have a
ha.
catch
I love
nor
it.
a reception.
Yep,
Tank Dell does
I
have
love
a
it.
catch for 34 yards, though.
I love it. But, actually, one more thing I do kinda wanna say. This is rumor and hearsay, but supposedly, and I do say supposedly in heavy quotation marks, take it with a huge grain of salt. The Browns
Mhm.
and 49ers did actually agree to a trade in principle for Brandon Ayuk that involved Brandon Ayuk going to Cleveland in exchange for Amari Cooper with a second and fifth round pick in the trade conditions. But Brandon Ayuk said, I'm not going to play in Cleveland and left.
Where does he
It,
want? I guess before we actually discuss the team that he's, we all know the heavily rumored Brandon Ayuk to the Steelers. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth in a second. But now it just brings me to this. He didn't want to go to Pitt. He didn't want to go to New England. He doesn't want to go to
Good.
Cleveland.
Haha,
I mean, the
I
only
can
spot
understand why.
left is Steelers. Like in the rumored, like the heavily rumored Ayuk to somewhere. Where do you think Ayuk wants to play? Does he want to stay in the West Coast? Because at sometimes the Chargers have been rumored a little bit because they
What?
need receivers. Maybe he wants to stay in the West Coast. Does he not want to go out and play on the East Coast? I mean, hey, I don't blame you. It gets cold out here in the East Coast. So if you want to play in the warm weather,
Oh,
I don't
no, don't
that's
mention
your
that.
preference.
Don't mention that, or else you're gonna start the Brandon Ayuk to the Miami Dolphins rumors. Don't you dare start that now, because if you do that and he goes to the Dolphins, I am
He can't
coming up
go to the
there.
Dolphins, though. The Dolphins cap space wouldn't allow that to happen.
Oh, man.
I mean, if the NFL went into a luxury tax
Oh, no.
sort of system, then Miami has a shot, but Miami has no chance in heck to get Brandon Ayuk.
We all know
No
this, and
way.
we're all thankful for this, believe me. Even though Mike McDaniel would just misuse him, like he misuses Devonta Chan in close games late, but that's that on all I was gonna say on that, because the next topic of note is indeed about Brandon Ayuk, in
It is.
particular in Pittsburgh. Hit me with the question.
So, do the Steelers need Brandon Ayuk to have a successful season this year?
First of all,
You
define
answer
success.
first. I'll answer you. It might be a rebuttal, but we'll see.
Like I said, first of all,
Go for it, and maybe we'll have a little Brandon Ayuk Steelers debate.
Paul, define success first. Are you talking just make the
Okay.
playoffs? You talking win the division? What are you talking? Because there's a
Okay.
different answer.
Success.
Define it
What do you
in particular.
So to me, if you're thinking from a Steelers perspective, success in the AFC North would be 11 wins winning the division. You
That is
know,
not gonna win
not
the AFC North, I promise. Not
not
11 wins. Not unless Lamar Jackson gets hurt or Joe Burrow gets hurt.
we're not
Actually, you
talking
probably
9
need
and 8
both to get
Steelers. We're
hurt.
talking how can the Steelers actually have success this season? Offensively for the record, and for the team as a whole. How
I
can
don't
they can Brand do the Steelers really need Brandon Ayuk for that, or do they have enough on the roster to go, we can have success without him?
Do you want me to remind you that the Steelers last season went 10-7 with Kenny Pickett at quarterback and Mason Rudolph at separate points? Believe me, they're fine. If Russell Wilson can even turn the time clock back a few years to the latter half of his Seahawk days at worst,
Mhm.
then I think they're gonna be just fine without Brandon Ayuk. They might be able to say you even get one more win than you would have had with a couple of backup quarterbacks playing football. Now you're 11-6. Are you going to win the AFC North? No, because Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson exist, and you will make the playoffs. Though it probably be a fifth seed if you're 11-6. So the point of the matter stands. They don't necessarily need Ayuk if that's the literal goal. If they just want to make the playoffs, they don't need him. But if they want to like contend for their division, then absolutely you do need Brandon Ayuk, because Brandon Ayuk in that offense, as long as Arthur Smith doesn't use him as a blocker to draw up plays for people like Jalen Warren or Darnell Washington, they'll be really set. Like if they could figure out how to use him effectively, which I know they can, absolutely, they will win. Hmm, maybe 13 games at best if they have Brandon Ayuk and let me finish, Paul, and Russell Wilson returns to form. But that's
Okay,
you have
okay.
a more likely chance of the Dolphins winning a crucial game in January. So,
You know, I I don't even with Brandon Ayuk, I don't see 13 wins. I don't. I can't see it. But I can see 11 wins if they get Brandon Ayuk and either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, plays really good football. And that's it. They need Russell Wilson and that offensive line to play really good football. And then then they're able to work their offense. Now my issue is how is the running game going to look for the Steelers? Najee Harris. Is Najee Harris going to come back and be what Najee Harris was in his first few seasons? If that all comes together, the Steelers have a really good team. But the Steelers have so many questions on their offense with a questionable offensive coordinator. Because what does Arthur System's offense look like in Pittsburgh? Does it look like the offense he was running with Desmond Ritter in Atlanta? Or does it look like the offense he was running, I believe, out in Tennessee, which looked really good? So, what kind of offense are we getting from the Steelers? If they add Brandon Ayuk, they can have success. And I think they might need Brandon Ayuk to have success this season because the current players they have on their roster, to me personally, has them at an 8-9 or a possible 9-8 on the season.
what
I don't see more. I don't
what
see. I don't see any more than 9 wins
I'm
out
about
of
to
the
flip this
Steelers.
table. I'm about to flip this table, and it has my whole setup on it. So if you make me lose my setup, Paul, I'm coming up there and I'm going to skin you alive. 10 wins
That's
when
how
they
I
already
they
had
don't
10
have a
wins
they
last season.
you look even okay, yes, they had 10 wins with Mason Rudolph and every other quarterback that they had
And
on
then
their
I
roster.
already
They could
cooked you on this on Twitter for this take already once. Do I need to do it again?
You might have to because I don't
I'm going to.
believe the Steelers are a 10-win team. They're
Yes, they
nowhere
are.
close to that. I have a feeling internally they could only win 5.
What?
They could have they could have a Patriots bottom out year.
Oh boy. Mike Tomlin would
Things don't
absolutely
work, right?
Mike
Look,
Tomlin would rather I would imagine he'd rather die than have a season like that. Like the comment that I will always remember and the comment that just sticks in my head every single time I hear somebody say the Steelers are going to have a losing season is when Mike Tomlin was on the sidelines and Chase Young back in 2020 when he was playing with the Commanders was right next to him. Mike
mhm,
Tomlin looked at him and he goes, "I hope we're never bad enough to get a guy like you." He was complimenting Chase Young by also saying, "Yeah, I hope this team is never going to be that bad to where we get somebody that good in the draft." So, Mike Tomlin would fight tooth and nail to get his teams to at least 9-8 or 8-1 with how the scheduling works now. And if there were, what is it, 18 weeks with 2 bye weeks that is rumored to be on the docket for the NFL at this point,
yes,
I think
that's rumored.
18 weeks, 2 bye weeks, so 16 games, you'd be back to the potential of them going 8-8 every year just so Mike Tomlin can finish his career with no losing seasons, which that's all he wants sometimes it feels like. Yinzerland
It's
wants him fired for it,
it's a
and
meaningless stat though. It's a
it is a
meaningless stat
meaningless
that I
stat.
like to follow, but it has a streak has to end at some point.
It won't
Has to
end this
end.
season. Not unless it won't end this season. It will end when Mike Tomlin retires. And I don't
Like
think
the
Mike
White
Tomlin
Sox
is
lost
gonna retire.
25 White Sox lost 20 what? 2 straight games,
I don't
and had to
follow
end at some
baseball.
point.
I'm a broken
Eh,
Rays fan. I do not follow baseball.
I mean, it's just the analogy. Streaks have to come to an end. You
Yeah,
know,
you know what other streak
you
has to
can
come to
lose
an end?
20 plus games and it has to come to an end. You can have 17 seasons without a losing record, but that streak has to come into an end at some point.
You could win 2 Super Bowls in a row, but that streak has to come to an end at some point. Am I right? I'm using your
That
logic
is
here,
true.
Paul. I'm
That
using
is
your
true.
logic here, Paul.
That streak will come to an end.
Yes,
All streaks at some point
we're winning our
come to an
first
end.
Super Bowl because of it too. Book it. Take it to the
There you
bank.
go.
Run with it. We're going to
Taking it back.
the Bills are going to the Super Bowl. Do you feel it? I feel it in
Yeah.
my
Okay.
bones. It is
Okay.
like
Now I'm excited.
get excited. It is in my bones. I can feel it. I'm going to turn into an alligator live on camera. Fire me
All
up.
right.
I'm getting fired up. Oh,
Perfect
actually,
segue to Bill's talk.
you want to fire me up? Yes, Bills talk. That
Let's
that
go.
was a perfect segue. I can't believe I just
It
pulled that
was
off
perfect.
without even trying.
Oh,
I'm
you.
good.
It was.
I'm good at
It
this.
was meant to be.
Yeah, I'm good at this.
Oh yeah, you're good at this. Absolutely. All right. So let's get into Bills talk. Bills have a preseason game. Their first of the season. You will see Josh Allen live in action tomorrow, Saturday at 1 o'clock on Channel 4 here in Buffalo. NFL Plus for anyone that's not in the local area. Also, NFL Network will air it nationally. So if you're like Connor down in Florida, you would be able to watch the Bills, Josh Allen, take the field against Caleb Williams. If there's a preseason game that deserves prime time, like prime time flex, like this is it. Like the first 15 minutes of this game, flex it to prime time and then reflex it to like 1 o'clock another day. Just kidding. But but it deserves all the credit for national media, for tomorrow. And the Bills also deserve it too because they have a really good team heading into this season. But let's turn the tables back to last season because Josh Allen's, had a interesting comment about Stefan Diggs, and the vibes he might have brought from last season. He was asked from a reporter here in Buffalo, does he miss 1-4? Does he miss 17 plus 14 equals 6? He's Josh Allen said this, and I quote, Steph's a great player. I don't know if I say I miss him, say I admit, say miss, but you can't say that you didn't miss that his production. I'm very happy with what we got going on here. So what you know, Josh Allen says this about Stephon Diggs. What do you make of it? What do you make of Josh Allen kind of saying, you know, the production over the years of Stephon Diggs was great, but I don't miss it.
Oh man. Oh man. I wish we could have an uncensored version of Josh Allen's thoughts on the situation. Josh Allen, if you ever happen to stumble across one of these videos, please find me on Twitter below and message me exactly what you think about Stephon Diggs leaving the Bills because I am dying to know.
Mhm,
I really wanted to yell like directly at Josh Allen when I was sitting there watching him on ESPN or he was on the NFL Network broadcast at training camp. I was
mhm.
literally looking right at him, and I was like, "Should I just yell big dubs right now?" But no, when he said that, I was just like, "Oh man, Josh, just keep going, just keep going. We're enjoying this over here." And
Mhm.
the only bad side to it is you just hope that the Texans don't look at it and go, "Oh, okay," and it gives Stephon Diggs more fuel to his fire.
That is
But
true.
then they'd have to give him more targets, and are you really gonna Are you really gonna give him more targets over somebody like Tank Dell and Nico Collins?
No, you can't. If it, I don't think the offense runs good if you give Stefan Diggs more targets than
No,
Tank Dell
no.
and Nico Collins. You look at what the Texans lost in Tank Dell last year when Tank Dell went down. Tank Dell really in the second season is going to make that offense way much better. You know, Stefan Diggs is just there for the ride. He's there for the free money and he's gone. Like, he's there for the free ride. 60, 70 catches. I think that's all he really gets. But if you look at Josh's comments on Stefan Diggs, basically saying, yeah, the production was good, but I don't miss him. Like, there at some point there was a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs riff at some point, whether it was last season, the year before, or the year before that, where Josh Allen is like, I'm done with Stephon Diggs.
The
And
whole
it
team
probably
was done with him.
was when Ken Dorsey left, Joe Brady went in. Joe Brady says, we're going to do this way. Josh Allen bought in because he liked it. Stephon Diggs, probably hooted and hollered in the locker room, had a little Stephon Diggs temper tantrum, and that was it. You saw limited production of Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen found his new favorite target, Dalton Kincaid, and the offense flourished for the rest of the season. It looked really good without Stephon Diggs, being the main focus in Josh Allen's mind. Because if you it felt like Josh's mind was always clouded with the Stephon Diggs chatter. Like, Stephon Diggs isn't getting enough targets. I have to force it to him. Stephon Diggs told me he wanted 10 catches today. He only got 4. He's going to be mad at me in the locker room, so I have to force it in a few times so we can get closer to the number of catches that he wanted. You know, it was Diggs, 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 which is great. You want a receiver who wants the football, but you don't want it to be clouding your quarterback's mind where he's making those dumb mistakes so he can give you the football. Like, week 1, Monday Night Football, Josh's first interception, I believe it was to Stephon Diggs. It was a deep ball down the field, and I believe it was in, like, triple coverage. Like, that
Good
can't
lord.
happen. Like, that can't happen. Like, I don't see you're seeing a new Josh Allen play out this season, and I think this is going to be a more dangerous Josh Allen this
Mhm.
season than a than the Josh Allens that we saw in the past.
Everybody
Because
eats in this offense. Everybody.
everyone eats.
You're
It's
not
not
gonna see, you're not
Diggs
gonna see anybody
or you.
forcing you're not gonna see anybody getting forced targets this season,
No.
and that excites me to no end. I promise it does. Like, just fire me up because
Like, I'm not gonna lie to you that the the Allen Diggs era was great. Like, that entire era was good. It brought good football. It helped Josh Allen grow, but Josh Allen also grew as a quarterback during that era of the Allen Diggs era, and it made him a better quarterback, and he most likely made Diggs a better wide receiver. And it made allow Josh Allen to make other his other receivers grow as pass catchers. So there's the positive out of the Allen Diggs era, but all eras come to an end. And
you keep
if
coming back
they're
to
no
that.
longer if they're no longer friends, that's okay. That's fine. Relationships comes and goes, and just Josh Allen is Josh Allen now. We're getting the old giddy Josh Allen again. You know, we're getting it, and I'm happy for it, and I'm excited that Josh Allen looks relieved. He looks like he's not stressed coming into the season. Like, he's able to focus on football, and he's able to focus on how Keon Coleman can get better because Keon Coleman is going to be an impact this season. So, Connor, what kind of impact could Keon bring to the Bills this season?
Oh boy. This is very, very exciting because when I think about how the offense is going to look, there's plenty of different ways that I think every receiver and every pass catcher is going to be used. And here's kind of what I'm thinking. I believe Greg actually said something along the same lines on Monday's
Mhm.
show. But if he didn't, then I didn't say his name.
He said Greg Thompson on Monday's show said Keon Coleman's going to have the most touchdowns out of the
Mhm.
Bills receivers.
See that, and I agree because that is exactly how I think it's going to play out too. I think what you're going to see is I think you're going to see every wide receiver on the Bills leading in different categories. You'll see a guy with the most receptions overall. You'll see a guy with the most touchdowns being Keon. I think you'll see somebody with the most, I already said receptions. I think that one's probably going to be like Khalil Shakir. I genuinely think that they will use Khalil Shakir and his magnet hands to kind of move down the field. But aside from that, I'm also believing that once you get into the red zone, I feel like that's where Keon Coleman is going to be at his best because that's really where he is at his best.
Mhm.
If you thought Shakir had magnet hands, just watch some of that old training camp tape. Keon was catching everything Josh threw his way, and it was beautiful to see in person
Absolutely.
too.
It was great.
Oh, it was a gorgeous sight. Like I'm just sitting there yelling at the top of my lungs at training camp on Wednesday when Keon makes the insane catches. I get back to my hotel room that night. I see the Bills posting it, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Everybody was like, "Oh man, why'd we draft Keon?" You see why we drafted Keon now. We wanted a guy with hands. Our entire point of this new offensive scheme that um, McDermott and Joe Brady are cooking up is
Mhm.
we want guys with hands, but yet we still signed MVS. But who knows at this point whether or not he actually makes the 53-man roster? I think he does. I think Bean gave him a little too much guaranteed money to not make the roster, but only time will tell if Bean goes away from that sentiment and decides that
Right.
okay, he's been useless in camp, we're cutting him.
It could happen.
It's not that
No
much money.
guarantees, but
It's not that much money. We'll just eat it. But if you lose MVS, then you lose if you lose MVS, then that means either Justin Shorter or Chase Claypool makes the 53-man roster, unless you run with five receivers, which would be Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Matt Collins, Curtis Samuel. The fifth one just slipped my mind. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody that's painfully obvious.
I don't
I,
know.
I, I
But
I'll I'll wind up
you'll
figuring it out later.
we'll figure it out.
But
But
I'll say one
in
other
the
thing as well because if you see my headline down below my down below my name there,
Davidson.
Zach Davidson being tight end 3, yes please. He looked really really good in camp, and I love it. I love how good he looks. I like that he's actually taking some of those snaps over Quentin Morris. I don't genuinely think that I don't know. He could actually steal the spot from Quentin Morris,
Gotta see
but
how he looks in the preseason.
he looked really good. I mean, and by the way, and I say that because I could see into the future, and I could see our Super Bowl too.
You can see it. We all can see it. It's just a
Yep,
matter of time.
I could
It's
see it.
only a matter of time for this team.
Yep.
So Keon Coleman is a interesting person. I mean, you know, actually, like him as a person is a good vibe to have on this team. You know, he has the goofy side and then he has the ball side. When it's the off season, he kind of, becomes goofy and giddy and wants to go out and buy yellow jackets and eat Wegmans cookies. Like that's Keon Coleman. Like that's the side of Keon Coleman you're going to get in the off season. But when it's time for football, he studies. Like he said that at training camp. Like
Mhm,
he probably already knows the playbook from front to back. Like you go up to him and you ask him what is the most complex play in Joe Brady's system in Joe Brady's playbook, he can tell you. Obviously, he's not going to tell us because
mhm.
he doesn't want the playbook leaked, but he will tell you. Like this is it's the alphabet, you know? You just got to memorize that. But Keon Coleman is going to impact this offense in a way. I think I'm going to say this. Keon Coleman is going to impact the offense in a way that Stefan Diggs didn't. And I'm not comparing Keon to Diggs. That's not what I'm doing. It's Keon is younger. Keon, I feel like Keon can do more than what Diggs did. Diggs was mainly used deep, but he was used deep in for the outside. Keon can be used in the slot, middle, end zone, anywhere you want to place him. Keon can play it.
Mhm.
Diggs was mainly one receiver to the outside, sometimes in the middle, and you will see him find a hole in their end zone, in the red zone. Keon is everywhere, and I think the impact you might not see it this season, but you might see it as the season goes on and into next season that Keon might turn into a better receiver than what the Bills had in the Diggs era. I mean, and this not comparing Coleman to Diggs. I don't like that. I don't like that, but I don't like comparing them to. But that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you said Keon Coleman's everywhere. He's behind you right now, Paul. Turn around. But no, yeah, it's better that you didn't compare him to Diggs right away because he's not gonna be Diggs. He is not in the same they're not the same receiver type. Keon
Yeah,
Coleman is a very big guy, very easily able to catch contested catches, and he's just an overall greater red zone threat than Diggs probably will be for the rest of his career.
yeah,
So my point still stands. You know, this is going to be a very different look and feel to the offense.
it is very
Maybe
different.
that should be my next article because I already have one. It's already done about looking at the schedule, just kind of analyzing the matchups and how the new and improved offense could look. And I think there will be some very interesting situations against some of these teams where this new offense is going to look very intriguing.
Hmm.
And in particular, I think week one, I feel like people are going to overreact to week one as they usually do. Like if the
Yeah,
offense doesn't get going and Josh Allen has to do everything himself, people are just going to freak out. But then I'll just
I
have to be
expect
like,
that.
just no, just wait. It's early. It's week one. It's a new offense. Stuff like this takes time,
It does.
and you aren't going to get that immediately with a brand new offense in week one. I don't care how many preseason snaps they play. I don't care how much time they have in training camp. None of it. They have to take time in real games, and it's not going to happen immediately. The Tom Brady led Buccaneers that won the Super Bowl in 2020 looked like garbage at the beginning of the 2020 season on offense.
It did.
Everybody was like, "Oh man, it's about to fall apart right in their face." And you know what happened? It did. They got it together. They found their chemistry and they won a Super Bowl. So that's all I'm saying. Don't overreact to an offense that kind of may look slow in week 1, because I promise it won't look slow all the time. And I know, against the Cardinals in week 1, it'll be it'll be challenging. Nothing in the Bills' schedule this season is an easy win. Not even, and
Mhm.
cannot stress that enough. Even in the NFL, there is no such thing as an easy win, despite the fact that the Bills are like 9-1 against the Miami Dolphins in their last 10 games. Still not an easy win. I mean,
Mhm.
they had to fight and claw their way to win that game in week 18 to win the division. Thank you, Deontay Hardy. I think it was Deontay Hardy. It was Deontay Hardy for returning that punt that saved the game.
Yep. Yep. It was. That's got the Bills offense going. I mean, it was I believe the final score of that game was 21-14. So yeah, they were down 14-7 or 14 nothing at that point.
Hmm.
But let's get into let's get into the Bills preseason game. And for the final few minutes of the show, just to preview it, give you something, gets you something ready and excited for tomorrow, Sunday, and we'll have a guest for you on Monday to, review the game. So let's and talk about, the Bills' next preseason game against the Steelers in their joint practice. That's all going to happen next week for the Bills, but this week for the Bills, it's going to be interesting.
There's plenty of interesting
Actually,
things going around.
let's actually I just realized the question before this one was about training camp. So let's dive into this question first, and then we'll preview tomorrow's game. Your biggest
Training camp.
overall takeaway from training camp?
This is going to be a great team. The vibes when I was there were immaculate. Like the whole team was just having fun. Josh Allen was absolutely slinging it. Like the first day I was there, he was absolutely slinging it. Like they were all like,
Mhm,
"Oh, this is the best Josh Allen's ever looked at training camp in his life." Then, um, after that, I went back on Sunday, and they said the exact same thing. You know, the practices looked a little different,
mhm,
but at the same time, oh my god, it was so awesome to see just how fluid Allen was, just how he just had this overall like different aura almost. Like you could tell he was like happy to be there almost. I'm sure he was happy his first few years, of course,
right.
but this year just felt different. Like he's just sitting there
Oh, it
going,
did.
"Man, there is a weight off my shoulders. There is a monkey off my back. I can actually lead this offense how I want to now, and I don't have to throw the football to the same guy every 5 plays."
Right.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got, and that's similar to my biggest takeaway is that it's a new team. But I'm going to say that my biggest takeaway from Bill's training camp this year was how in tune everyone was. Like the chemistry on defense looked great. Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard. No, Dorian Williams starting to take the next step. Dwayne Smoot looked really, really good. How about Kyrie Elam and DeMar Hamlin? Taking
Oh
the
my,
next steps
you know
for the
what?
Bills
Wait,
secondary.
Paul, the fact that you just said Kyer Elam cooked me right now because you remember all throughout the draft cycle, I was like, you know what? I'm going to trade Kyer Elam and a couple of picks to the Commanders to get their second round pick, so that way we could take a cornerback. And then Kyer Elam apparently heard that, goes out, has the best training camp of his life. Oh my god. I got cooked. I got
Yeah,
theoretically cooked by Kyer Elam, and I'm very happy that I did because he looked awesome in camp. And I actually really think that he's going to be an impactful player on the Bills going forward. especially with the new, especially with what Bobby Babich is bringing. I
Mhm.
really, really like what I saw at Akaya. It's so awesome.
And the offense, the chemistry, like, it didn't miss a beat. Like, everyone knew what to expect, and they executed it. And I there don't get me wrong, there's going to be execution problems during the season, but I feel like you're gonna see a lot less execution problems this year. We're not gonna come in on a Monday on our show, and we're not gonna be talking, "Why did the Bills lose?" We're not gonna be s we're not gonna be saying because the offense didn't execute Ken Dorsey's offense, or the Bills didn't execute Joe Brady's offense, because I think the execution is going to be there. Yes, are there going to be a few plays that they're going to miss? Yeah, it happens in every game, happens in every offense. But I don't think that's going to be the reason why Bills lose football game. Or it could happen a few times during the season, but I don't think it's going to be the main reason why the Bills lose every single football game, because more often than not last year, you know, why did the Bills lose? Because they
Diggs.
couldn't execute.
Oh,
It was
well, that too.
simply that.
Or how about
Right.
12 men on the field?
Oh my God.
Friggin'
Don't. No. Why would he say that? I
because
was
I
so
can.
happy when they missed that. I was so happy when they missed that kick. That
Yeah.
game was came to the end. Broncos missed the kick, and all you see in the bottom corner on a Monday Night Football scoreboard, the horrid, horrid yellow highlight with black lettering flag.
Oh, Paul, you ain't that
Let's talk.
doesn't even
Let's talk X factors for tomorrow's
that
game.
doesn't even rank on my top 5 most painful losses to see.
Oh,
And I
it was a
wasn't even
pain. It was a painful loss, but it's probably not ranked. But
it's not, I
it
mean, that's
was a
not even
painful
ranked
loss.
on mine because I've seen a special teams way to lose a game that's even worse. Back in 2018, I wasn't even awake for that one. I woke up and I saw it in the morning and I went, "How on earth did you idiots blow it?" And I'm talking about the Chargers and the Steelers when the Steelers were up by 17 points and they blew the whole lead. They were up like no, they were up higher than that. They were up 17 to 7, I think it was. And they lost 33 to 30 because Artie Burns jumped offsides 3 separate times on field goals. They missed the first one, they got to kick
Whoops.
again. Artie Burns jumps offsides again. They get to kick again. Third time's the charm, and he finally makes it. But yeah, I don't even want to talk
Yeah.
about it. I about want to punch my desk again. Anyway,
Yeah. Let's
X
talk X
factors
factors for
in
tomorrow.
training camp because talking about the
No, just
Bills is so
for
much
the X
better.
factors are not X factors from training camp. X factors for the Bills game on Sunday. Like, who you
Uh,
think is going to stand out? Let's do one on offense and one on defense.
Javon Solomon is going to be him on defense. I have a feeling. I'm going to push that Javon Solomon agenda. I really, really liked the insiders texts that I was seeing about Javon Solomon. And I actually I have a very, very good feeling that Javon Solomon is going to be this guy that breaks out in his rookie season, and everybody's going to be like, "When did they draft him? Why didn't anybody draft him before that?"
Hmm.
But also said that they'll be saying the same things about Keon Coleman, and I didn't want to say Keon Coleman on offense because that's going to be too easy. Obviously, I I don't like the fact that Josh Allen and some of the ones are going to be playing snaps in the first preseason game because of the risk being too high that something goes wrong. But
Hmm.
in a way, if nothing bad happens, I'm actually all for them playing at least a drive because
Hmm.
they get the chemistry working. It's kind
Right.
of like what Andy Reid does with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I believe it's a very similar setup, but that's not the point. If we're talking X factors on offense, I want to see how good Zach Davidson does. I want to see him take some
Yeah.
meaningful snaps. I want
Hmm.
to see him actually looking like a stud out there. If he looks like a stud and Quentin Morris just kind of looks meh, please just jump Zach Davidson up on the keep 3 tight ends, have Zach Davidson your tight end 3.
Mhm.
Put Quentin Morris on the practice squad because at least even then, if somebody steals him, like, a certain team down south that has no tight end 1, at least if
Mhm.
it's Quentin Morris, it's not like you already know what you know what you're getting. And Zach
Right.
Davidson has looked so good that I'd be worried about stashing him on the practice squad in case of emergency because somebody else will see it and go, "Hey, we need a tight end." Yoink, Fishing Garrett style, and take him right from us. And then he comes back to haunt us right when it matters most. That would just be the worst. The absolute worst. Some franchise finds their star tight end in Zach Davidson, and we're just sitting here going, what were we thinking? But
Yeah.
not the point.
Don't want that.
No. So that's why I say if Zach Davidson looks good tomorrow, or just make him tight end 3 right away. Then when Knox eventually retires or leaves, then he's tight end 2 right behind Kincaid, and your offense is still cooking. But uh that was it. I don't
I
believe there were any
On
more topics
offense,
to
there
discuss.
isn't. I'm gonna give you my X factors and then we get out of here. So on offense, I'm gonna go. I feel like I keep talking about this same wide receiver over and over again, but I just bought into the hype and I just need him to make this wide receiver to make the roster.
Tyrell Shavers?
Tyrell Shavers.
Yeah.
Tyrell Shavers. He only way he makes the 53. Because I agree with Craig Tom said. He's probably 54, 55, 56 right now. Like he's anywhere in that range. But that doesn't mean he can be 53. Like there's a chance he could be the 53rd man the Bills select when they have to submit their official 53-man roster to the NFL. The only way he does that is being an X factor for the Buffalo Bills on offense in all 3 preseason games. He has to stand out. So, in order for him to make the roster as a on the 53, not going to the practice squad, and you have to wait for him to clear waivers and to land on your practice squad. He's officially going to be on the roster. And in order for him to do that, he has to stand out. And it starts preseason game week 1. It starts tomorrow. Tyrell Shavers, you have to stand out. You're going to be my X factor for the Bills in week 1 because he can also play special teams too. And we talked about the new kickoff rule. It's going to be important. And I'm going to say in defense, I'm going to go with Elianku. I feel like he's having a sneaky good camp. You sometimes see that he's getting through the offensive line and he's making the theoretical sack on Josh Allen during Josh Allen or Mitch Trubisky or
Nobody
the
touched Josh
QB3,
Allen.
the theoretical, sack and camp, get through and just probably just tap Josh Allen in the shoulder, say, "Hey, gotcha." But Elianku, he can make the roster, and if he stands out tomorrow, he's going as a third string defensive tackle. They have him listed right now. They have him behind Daquan Jones and Austin Johnson under the third uh, category for defensive tackles. I think good Elianku can make the Bills' defensive line even more better.
Even more
What can I
better.
say? Even more better. Like,
Guys,
it's good.
this guy's out
It's
here
good,
trying
but
to
Elianku could take it better.
yeah, well, this guy is trying to become a Buffalo Lowdown contributor, and he just said that live on the air. Sue this man. Well, don't even just make him buy a Grammarly subscription before he even considers anything. Say that say that in an article, Paul. They'll la- we'll all just laugh at you when we read it and go, what is he saying with the what is he saying there? What kind of grammar
What am
is
I
that? I had to say it because I had to say it because I know you're trying to apply, which
Yeah.
I think that's actually a good way to end the show too, is to announce that I am actually now an official contributor for Fansided and Buffalo Down. So now you'll be able to see my
Congrats to you.
wild takes in real official article form throughout the season.
Throughout
And
the season in article form and live weekly.
yep, yep. Well, my
Double dose
article
of
forms will
funness.
be a little different because it'll be from my writing and I have to have a professional spin on my wild takes. So that will be a very fun challenge to try to work around, but believe me, I am looking forward to doing it because oh man, it's going to be fun. I already got a few more in mind. Like I said earlier, I already wrote one about the schedule. I don't know if I'm going to post that to the Undercovers article account or if I'm going to actually save that one for Buffalo Down, but either way, you'll wind up seeing it. But that was the end of the show for tonight, unless you have one more thing to add.
I don't. All
You
the
don't?
takes are out. All the discussion points are filled. Ready for football tomorrow. Ready to
Oh,
be
me too.
back at Highmark. It'd be great.
I'd like to be at
Tickets would
Highmark, but yeah,
Highmark is it.
I need to learn how to teleport.
You just teleport for a day.
I need to learn how teleportation works. Then I could just get Bill's season tickets because was said, I think it was Wednesday. No, it was a few days after the first day I went to training camp. How the offense was not cooking like it was when I was there. They said,
Mhm.
"Oh, well, I must be the good luck charm, so now I'm going to get a GoFundMe started to where everybody's just paying me to go to Bills games at this point. Every single one, because apparently I'm Josh Allen's good luck charm. I don't know, but
There you go.
if anybody wants to start that GoFundMe, you know where to send it.
You know where to send it. His that's right there.
Hmm.
Right next to his name in the parentheses.
Yep,
So,
yep.
if you have no any more final thoughts,
Uh,
go Bills.
Go Bills. That is my final
That's it.
thought. Hmm.
That's it. Go Bills.
Yep. Go Bills.
See you next. See you on Monday. Go
Hmm.
Bills.